Hello, everybody. Oh, I might crank up my light a little more so you can see me a little better. How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to Potent Conversation at night. I kind of dig this at night kind of ooh vibe. Right? We vibing. So I'm going to see if I can get Kaitlyn in here, and then we can start getting the show on the road. So this is a series I'm super excited about. Because it's just like having powerful conversations with amazing people, something that I'm really passionate about. Because that's how we learn, that's how we grow, that's how we move forward. So this is, like I said, this series is open to anybody. Spiritual entrepreneur, not an entrepreneur. Do you just have something powerful to say? Slide into my DMs. Hi, Drea. Slide into my DMs and let me know that, like, I have something written on my heart. I want to talk about it, and we will talk about it. So I'm just waiting for Kaitlyn to come on, and then we will get this show on the road. That is not what I want. Come on. Why are you doing this? Accept. There we go. All right, getting Kaitlyn in here. Super excited to have her. She is Psychic Moon Mentor. She works with the phases of the moon, as well as in business as well. An incredible business mentor, and I absolutely adore this woman. So, Kaitlyn, welcome. Introduce yourself, and let's just start shooting
Hey.
the shit.
Yeah, hey Heidi. Thanks for having me here in this beautiful space you've created. My name is Kaitlyn. I am a psychic moon mentor and I work with sensitives to make money doing what they love. And so part of that journey is knowing what season or cycle of life we're in, and another is tuning into our intuition to access lunar abundance. So yeah, so excited to be here.
I love it. So, we have the full moon coming up, or sorry, new moon in
New
Aquarius.
moon, you got
I
it.
know.
Yeah.
I get there.
No, it's all
I should,
good. You got
yeah.
it.
And for me, this is kind of an auspicious date because this new moon, like I have a stellium in Aquarius. All of my benefics are in Aquarius in the eighth. So
Oh boy.
yeah.
So here we go,
So
diving
like
in.
for me, and now Pluto's in there. So like for me, this new moon is hugely representative of new beginnings. So jump in, whatever you want to talk about, you've got the floor, and we're just gonna back and forth it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and for anyone watching the live or the replay, if you know where Aquarius is in your chart and where it is in the planets and the houses, whatever, you can share it in the comments, and Heidi and or I can come back and let you know where you're going to be impacted this new moon. Lily's here. Hey,
Hi,
Lily. Glad to
Lily.
have you. So my moon is in Aquarius, and I have to double check and see if I have any other placements in Aquarius. But I'm like, ooh, okay, maybe that's why I'm feeling some of this. Just like a little bit of triggers, a little bit of shifts, and like full new beginning. And I've, already sort of felt it coming since the end of last year. I don't know about you, but since the end of last year, I was really decided to dedicate myself towards me, like taking care of myself. So I don't know if that was part of the Pluto transit or what. So I've been more dedicated and regimented in all the things, right? Time in nature, moving my body, doing my healing work that I do for individuals on myself, which I think is so powerful. And I'm recommending like more than ever to everyone. Um, but yeah, I know, and the thing that's fascinating too, which I only put together today for some reason, was the new moon, right? She peaks on the 9th, and then we have the Lunar New Year, the year of the dragon, coming immediately after on the 10th. So this is like major beginnings, like what do you want? And that's the thing with the new moon. Sometimes people find it hard to decide like what do you want? And I'm not talking about like, oh, I want to win the lottery. No, babe. Like, what do you want to experience, like in your day to day, like regular? What do you want to experience in your intimate relationships? What do you want to experience? Like, get into the like nitty gritty. Like, this week, take some time, even if it's only 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, to explore that and open up to that.
Yeah, well, especially around the themes of Aquarius, right? Aquarius
Mm.
is the sign of the people, essentially, to like pare it down to something like really, really simple, right? It's the sign of community of the people. For me, I always think of the air signs as like Gemini is your relationship with yourself. Libra is your relationship with another, and then Aquarius is your relationship to like the collective,
The
community,
collective, yeah.
bigger picture, which is great because
Yeah,
I did pull cards before we started this talk, just because me, right? And the
perfect,
first one that
yes.
came up was the Ten of Pentacles, the community card, right? Like how amazing is
Right?
that? That we're talking about the new moon in Aquarius, and this card is the one that's like, hey, we're talking about community, and getting in touch with, maybe you're making a new community, maybe you are setting intentions around building a community, finding your soul tribe.
Absolutely. And maybe that's, you know, that can give inspiration for people catching this live, catching this replay of like, okay, where is my community? And, I've talked to some people recently, and a lot of this came up for me last year when I was, networking and also finding my own soul tribe. And I kept running into people who were like, I don't have a space. I don't have people in person in, the physical where I can talk about intuition, tarot, like spiritual practice, meditation.
Yeah.
And after hearing this for like 100 times, I was like, okay, I think I'm supposed to help like create some of this, some of my Leo fiery passion. And so that's what I've been doing, right? And I pulled a card too, of course, diving into this. And so I think this is a beautiful combo here, right? And so beautiful moon deck card here, the number 22. Oh my God, I didn't even look at the number. Sorry, that's been coming up for me all day. And I'm like, what is this? What is the number 22? All right.
Synchronicity.
My inner compass knows the way. My inner
Um,
compass knows the way, right? And so I mentioned this a little bit in the beginning of like, well, you have to decide what you want, right? And so if we stick with this theme of Aquarius and community, right? Okay, what do you want in community? Okay, I want to follow yoga, like just random example. I love yoga. Okay, so maybe I go and take a class or try a new yoga studio that I'm like curious to try, right? My inner compass knows the way. I know what I'm interested in, right? Your curiosity, I think, is your intuition speaking to you. And then, like we've talked about, this major theme of Aquarius, that's how you can start to fit some of these pieces together to welcome this new beginning, like we have coming on Friday and Saturday this weekend.
I know, I know. Um, and I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it. I mean, if we're gonna get like, you know what? I'm fine being personal on here because you guys are my people. If I were still married, this was going to be my 5th wedding anniversary on the 9th, on the new moon. And like, you guys know that I've talked a little bit about leaving my husband and like the toxicity I left for. So for me, this new moon about building community is really for me a huge new beginning, because it's like this would have been my anniversary, but it's not. It's my first year divorced, and it's the new moon, and it's an Aquarius where Mercury, I'm not kidding, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, a lot of fortune, and my
Yeah,
sun is. And I
it's
think
a
we're
lot going
opposite.
on. Yeah.
I think we're opposites, Kaitlyn, because your moon is in Aquarius, my moon is in Leo. And it's
Okay.
such a good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I love that. Yes.
So we're like we are playing right now on the Aquarius Leo axis, both of us.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I love the community and space that you're creating. And even like this is a newer project for you, right? Like creating these beautiful conversations and
Yeah.
opportunity for conversation, which I think is so, powerful. And for anyone watching, hopefully you already know because you're in this space, but your tribe is out there. There are people out there awakened, interested to, you know, operate outside of capitalism, be an entrepreneur, do something like weird and unique, continuing on the Aquarius vibes. Like, so just get clear on what that is for yourself. And the thing is that I've noticed a theme for myself and a theme with clients and community that I serve, right? It's like that fear will bubble up, right? That fear or that doubt. Fear is a liar, babe. Fear is a liar. If anything, it also lets you know you're getting closer to what you want, right? So that there's that mind shift there, right? So don't let fear stop you. Just have that. And sometimes fear shows up as wanting to know, right?
Oh,
We're like
no.
the overproductive, overactive, wounded masculine. I need to know. I need to make logic of everything. I need to have a plan for everything. There's a time and a place for that, okay? And like your inner compass knows the way. What you want it. It's come into your sphere as a wanting, as an intention, because it exists out there. So if you can just lean into, okay, I don't know where it is, but I know it's out there somewhere, and just take one step, follow your curiosity, and in one way to join this group or an online space, or to check out that yoga studio, for example, that you've been kind of curious and you've driven by a few times, like one step, and then the next step comes in intuitively, and then take the one next step. We're moving out of the plan and I'm going to work the same place for 50 years and have the retirement like that. The paradigm's dying, babe.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. And more people are picking up side hustles and doing their own thing because they're realizing like that's the most fulfilling thing. Everything that we've been told growing up about go to school, get a good job, rise up the ranks, stay there forever is no longer valid. It doesn't work anymore. It's
Mm-mm.
it's the old way of doing things is not working. We're hitting walls. We're finding there's toxicity in working environments built on this hierarchy. And sometimes the only way to escape is to make your own way, carve your own path, right? I'm very fortunate right now is that I get to, I do some VA work, but I'm also like getting to throw myself more into my business. Like I have time set aside this weekend. I'm building a new lead magnet. I'm working actually on a membership because community is a core value of mine. Hi, Aquarius and the Sun, right?
Of course, yeah. And there's strength in community too, and being in the collective shared space where we have the same intention and we're coming together, right? For
Mhm.
those of you who've attended a moon circle or maybe attended one of my moon circles, which are community events hosted most often around the new moon or the full moon, right? We come together in that community and we amplify the energy through our intention showing up there, pure of heart and vulnerable. And so things like memberships are great, right? Everyone having that same intention to learn the same thing or develop or just maybe just be in a heart-centered space,
Yeah.
right? Let's come back to
Yeah.
that Leo vibes, yeah.
Right. And that's what, like, I love this. I've heard somebody say you can't have Aquarius without Leo, and you can't have Leo without Aquarius. And, like, both of us
Yay.
being on that access, I'm like, facts, because Leo is that more individualized heart centeredness. And then you bring that into community, and vice versa. Community can bring that to you. So they're paired so well. I'm glad we're both on this access.
This is so fun. I love it. So maybe you have something, and if not, we can shift direction. But also, right, talking about shadow work a little bit, coming into, the new moon, right? The phases leading up to the new moon, which we're in now, right? Tomorrow and Thursday, are perfect times for shadow work, for slowing down, for connecting to that inner compass. And so I want to ask you, right, a practice, maybe working with tarot, what that can look like.
For me, when I'm working with tarot, if I'm looking at working in a practice and a shadow work within tarot, it's really getting down to there's two things that I do. It's like I let the cards speak to me and then I ask questions. And that's the biggest thing is like for me, it's the questions that you ask when you're working with the tarot. So if I'm looking at shadow work, I may be asking things like, what am I missing? And then if I draw a card around it, or what part of my shadow is being revealed right now, or do I need to work with? What part of my shadow do I need to bring into the light, and how do I embrace it? Because for me, I just had a really great conversation with another friend about this because I had something that I don't know if trigger's the right word, but I'm going to use the word trigger. But it triggered me because I was like, I saw this piece of content and I was like, ooh, that is not right. And I went and I made content based off it because I was like, my sense of justice, my sense of integrity and honesty were triggered. And I was like, this isn't cool. I need to go and like speak out on this. And so she was like, well, why are you so triggered? Is it upsetting you so? And is there a better way to handle this? And I thought, well, so I took a step back and I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I think with the one thing with shadow work is when we take a look at this stuff, we have to decide what is worth taking a step back and looking at and what is worth accepting. And for me personally, being triggered into a passionate emotion like that, to take a stance, to take action, and to say this isn't fair, that is not a trigger that I'm like, I want to heal that. I'm like, no, that trigger needs to stay because it's one that I need to, if I'm speaking out against something about it, an unfairness and injustice in the world, then that's, for me, that's not a bad trigger. So I think with me right now, that's what I'm looking at with tarot is which triggers are there for the greater good that will incense me to this point of passion and stand up, and which ones do actually need to be healed. Which ones can you start working through because they're now causing more disruption in your life than harmony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when we get like passionate like that, you know, even out of a place of like disruption or, you know, like injustice or whatever it might be, like I think you're right, right? It's like we can speak to somebody who's probably looking for that answer that we're like, you know, so passionate and like can create all this content around. Like, I think, like you're saying, there's a beautiful opportunity to show up in that service with that passion.
Mhm.
And I like too how you mentioned like these open-ended questions, right? And so much of what I do is really emotional release and shadow work with my clients, right? It's like, yeah, we want the joy, we want the playfulness, and we got to clear the junk, babe. We got to release, but it doesn't have to be messy. It doesn't have to be traumatic. We don't have to dive back into the full story of what
Yeah.
happened. And an example, right, like Heidi just shared, right, of where it's like, oh, I saw something and like, oh, it awakened something in me and motivated me to do this passionate, loving thing, really, for community. But when we get triggered in any sort of way, I think there's an opportunity there to have this open curiosity, you know, of like, okay, what is this? Okay, where is this coming from? Okay, where does this live in my body? When was the first time I saw this? When was the first time I felt this way? Just with an open curiosity, not even necessarily with an intent of,
Yeah.
oh, I need the answers to these questions, sort of thing. And even just to acknowledge it. And that's what I mean by, oh, it doesn't have to be super, you know, like re-traumatizing. We don't have to dive like deep into it. We can show up with an open curiosity, sort of be open to what's there, and ask these open-ended questions just to acknowledge it, just to even sit with it for a moment. We don't even have to go like deeper than that.
No. And that's
That
really,
in and of itself can be
yeah,
so healing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I use tarot for because sometimes it's hard for us to recognize why we're triggered because we're in such an emotional state that it's hard for us to be like, well, let's connect the dots here. And to me, tarot gives us that insight because we're able to say, okay, what is the dots that connect? Where's the path that leads back? I can't see it right now because I am in such a state, but I can take a second, I can take a deep breath, I can draw a couple cards, and then I can start mapping my path backwards to that and going,
Mm-hmm.
there it is. And then from there,
Like, oh,
you can,
shoot. Yeah.
yeah, then you can,
Oh,
from there,
that's what I'm mad about.
you can choose, oh, okay, this is something I do want to work on, or you know what, this moved me to a point of passion into helping other people. So maybe it's something that is okay to like leave because your shadow side is not necessarily a bad thing, and you not everything needs to be coming to the light all the time. It's knowing, it's more for me, shadow work is knowing what the trigger is, if it needs to be healed, and then what that looks like, and knowing the difference between this may be a good trigger because it's making me take action on something that I feel very strongly about, versus
Mm-hmm.
something where
Absolutely.
you're reacting, right? It's the choice element there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And for those of you watching, catching the live or catching the replay, let us know, how do you work on shadow work? Do you use tools of tarot? Do you journal? Give us a little bit of info, what that looks like for you, diving into the shadow, or triggers and things like that. Any self-care, self-development work, let us know in the comments. And yeah, I loved what you sort of said. And for me, what it brought up was how, like the spiral of life, right? And
Mm-hmm.
how we
Mm-hmm.
come back to these very similar, if not same, like pain points or triggers as we continue to grow and transform. And maybe some of you have experienced this as well, where you're like, oh, I thought I healed this already. Oh, I thought I like worked on this, and like here I am, you know, still emotional, still in the feels about it. And I think that's like a normal part of life, right? And you know, hopefully there's no misconception of shadow work, but I think it's a great topic to talk on right now, especially leading up to the new moon. But we're not dissipating the shadow, right? And Heidi's talking about this as well, right? It's like we're sort of learning to live with it. We're sort of learning to accept it. It's learning to acknowledge it. It's not, shadow work isn't necessarily about like, oh, banishing and like, oh, that's bad. Like, that's another, that would be a layer of shadow work to work on.
Yeah,
like trying to like beat down your shadow. Because that part of us exists for a reason. Like Heidi's saying, like there can be something good that comes out of it, but can we have that openness to look at it through new eyes or through the eyes of an observer and detach from it a little bit? And in that can be, as we know, right, can be so healing.
Yeah, it really can. And that's a lesson that I'm learning right now is the detachment part, a detachment to outcomes. I don't know why everybody says that like Aquarians are so detached because I'm like, we're really not.
Like, I don't
We're
know
like
about
deeply, we're deeply emotional beings. Like everybody's like, oh, Aquarius, you're so aloof, and I'm like, have you met one? Like,
that.
we are deeply, deeply emotional. I think where the detachment comes in is that we're really good at compartmentalizing, and we're like, you're an emotion that we can't deal with right now, so we're gonna go put you on the shelf, and
Over
later on
here.
we'll listen to a sad song and we'll cry it out. That's
Yeah, exactly.
um, but even like getting into like your emotions and like how you feel so deeply about something is very, very important too within shadow work, because everything like everything we have that's in our shadow is like your reaction to something. It's a learned, right? Somebody's told you something's not good, or you've learned that something's not okay about you, so you have reacted and shoved it down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or just like when we all have it, just part of being human, right? It's just something we learn, something we are conditioned in, something that our caregivers at a very young age did, and sort of we saw it, and then it became part of our identity. And as we become conscious, you know, awake beings, we get to decide and we get to choose again. And so, you know, I think maybe that's why some of this number 22 is coming in um, with what we're talking about today too, because
Yeah,
22 is a master number. It's a master builder number, and it reminds us like we're a co-creator. Like life's not just happening to us. Like we can
we are
co-create
here.
through oh yeah, we are powerful light beings, right? We can create through our thoughts, which were not our thoughts. We can have a bad thought and, you know, observe it and change it and correct it or whatever, redirect it towards what we want. Same thing with emotions, right? We can have whatever sort of emotion, feel it, process it. It doesn't necessarily say something about our identity and who we are, just part of being human.
Yeah.
It's just another language, another energy moving through. And same thing with behavior. So I love that this card came in. My inner compass knows the way.
So then, for you, Kaitlyn, how do you do your shadow work, if you don't mind
Oh,
sharing?
yeah. I mean, part of what I shared, you know, how I teach is a lot of like how I'll do it for myself as well. So, um, let me think. All right, last month was a wild month, but so I have been working with some more clients, and then I create conscious space to do something for just me, right? And I don't know, we can probably call it some shadow work. It's definitely healing. And so as I'm processing these emotion, this energy that's coming up for me, I hold myself and let myself sort of have space. And with practice, it gets a lot easier to sort of detach from these really strong emotions, like you mentioned earlier, right? When we're sort of triggered or have a really strong reaction or response. And so even in my personal time, right, it's like that was coming up right after a session with somebody, and it's like just talking to myself, almost like inner dialogue of like, okay, breathe, babe. Because I can like feel myself like holding it. And for me, it's often in like the throat chakra. And I'm holding my breath. I'm just like, okay, breathe. I'm here with you. You know, I talk to that inner child or that part of myself. Just breathe. I'm breathing with you. I see you. I see you. I love you. You know, and I'm not from, not always. It's probably more recently, right? I'm not trying to change anything. I'm not trying to shift it and get back to a happy state. It's like, okay, this is gonna pass. Like, oh, and then like strong, but just like let it go, and the gasping, the ugly cries, and the like,
Yeah,
the cry,
absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mine, when I'm that emotional, I feel it here. I feel it in my heart chakra a lot, and then like solar plexus next. So it's like
Okay.
my torso area gets hit. Not really in the throat chakra because I have no problem just being like, what the? And I'm like, you probably need to like tone down your throat chakra. But my heart and I can feel it in my heart, my chest. I can feel that area get tight there, and in my stomach too, where I'm like, oh, I don't feel good. Like I feel physically ill and sick. So I know those two are getting hit
Mm,
when something is
yeah.
really triggering me, and I'm like not feeling good about it at all. Anger or sadness or grief or whatever that negative emotion is, that's where it hits me. Is those two.
Mhm.
And let
Yep.
us know, guys, when you are feeling some sort of way, where is it hitting you? Because I will say the opposite is true as well. When I'm feeling when I have a positive trigger and something lights me up, I feel it in my heart and I feel it in my solar plexus as well, where it's all lit up. Like it's so I get both ways I get
Right
hit.
on the other end of the
Yep.
spectrum, though, it's like light. I'm like, oh yes, okay, I'm feeling into this.
Yep.
Yeah, and it is unique, I think, too, for each of us. So where do you notice it? Where do you feel it? And it could be any body part. It doesn't have to necessarily be a chakra, right?
Yeah. We just
Um,
we're in this world, so this is the language we speak.
yeah, exactly. Cool. So I'm curious too to dive into a little bit of the interpretation of this meaning. But did you have any other cards that came in for you when you were tuning in to before we
Well, I
started today?
had, so it's interesting because I pulled one when we were talking and I was like, this totally hit on what I just said. And then I pulled two more earlier where we were talking about like community, we were talking with the Aquarius access, we were talking about shadow work, and I had the Queen of Pentacles come out. So like she is like she's
Ooh.
very like people will associate with her with abundance, which yes, 100%. But she's also very nurturing, and this is my like self-nurturing card. And it's like, okay, this is
Yeah.
the time to care for me. And when we were talking earlier about the Leo Aquarius access, I was like, there's the Leo and Aquarius access. It's the community and the me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Together, working in tandem. How community pours into you, you pour into community, you pour into yourself as well. So it's like that give and take cycle there. And then when we started talking about shadow work and we're talking about taking that time, looking inwards, asking yourself and getting curious, the Hermit actually came out, which is the card of
Okay, which I
introspection.
learned recently is a card associated with Aquarius, right?
The Hermit, no, Aquarius is the star. What is the Hermit? Do I know off the top of my head?
Oh, Virgo. Is it Virgo,
Virgo,
maybe?
I think
That's
so.
why I was planning some events. Maybe it's Virgo. Okay, because the full
Um,
moon's coming at the end of the month.
yeah,
The Hermit.
um,
Okay, which is totally what we're talking about. Yeah, with this,
just taking
the
that
dark
time back out.
moon, balsamic moon, new
Yeah,
moon. Yeah.
and what I really love about the Hermit is his lantern to me, and I love that
Yes.
he's cloaked in green because for me the Hermit was always like you go through something and then you shine your light. So it's like you're taking this step away and you're taking this step back to look and then you share it with your light and it's all coming from and moving from the heart and he's green in this deck and I was like when I got this deck I was like that's perfect for my interpretation of the Hermit. So it always makes me think of going to that heart chakra, getting what you need from in here and then shining your light from that area to like support and guide others.
Hell yeah. So this is coming in strong, and somebody needs to hear this today that's in this space. So started coming in when you're talking about the Queen of Pentacles card, right? And it's like healers, intuitives, like you've done a lot of the work for yourself. You're so intrigued in a lot of what I share, what Heidi shares, and you haven't let yourself do it professionally. You haven't let yourself get paid for it. And the message that's coming in really hot is like, just do it. Like you're always going to be healing. Like your healing is never done. We're always learning. We're always evolving.
Yeah.
Like even with business, you're going to change your title. You're going to change the title of who you are. You're going to change the title of your group. You're going to change the title of what you offer. Like, please just start and like create one thing and roll with it and start speaking on it. And you already feel it.
Yeah.
Like it's already there in the heart space, right? And you're showing up in service. Just the people are going to find you. Like, I think, we talked about this earlier of like the fear and like oh, I don't know how, but where and how. Just your intuition is trying to tell you, like, you already have a piece
Yeah.
of the puzzle, and then you can work with spirit, like we've been talking about, whether you work with your angels or your cards to be like, okay, what is this? What is it that I'm missing? What direction do I need to head in? Let's start. Sorry, that was coming in like really heavy. I'm
No,
like,
and
somebody
it
needs to
works
hear this.
perfect.
I don't
No,
know
it
where they
works
are,
perfectly
but
because nothing is going to challenge you more and make you face your shadows more than doing this publicly. Even just, for me, if you want to be an entrepreneur in this, by all means, like, ask us questions. We will be happy to answer them.
yeah,
It is not for the faint of heart. I'm telling you to put yourself out here like this every freaking day to come up with offerings. Like, I went through, like, I was training the Akashic Record, so I dabbled in that for a little bit, but I was like, no, 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 tarot is really it. Now I'm looking at building a membership around tarot. I'm looking at building it, teaching it in the way I teach it, because I've had other people and other readers, like people who are clients and people who are readers, be like, I've never seen anybody read the way you do. So I'm like, okay, well then I need to build now that I've lived all 78 cards, because yes, for me, partially,
Aquarius vibes, yes.
now that I've lived all 78 cards, that's not an easy journey. Because for me, you have to, like, tarot is a lived thing. It's a living, breathing thing. So you have to live with the cards and walk through them. So it's like, I need to do that before I can teach it, even though I've been being asked to teach. That things are going to shift and change, and you're going to have so much shadow work to do being an entrepreneur, because you're going to be faced with people being like, well, I don't like what you do. I don't like the way you look today. I don't, and these stupid things. And then you're going to realize, like, none of it actually matters, you know, because you're just like, who cares? I'm just out here being me, right?
Or like, those aren't my people and that's not my space, but oh, I did really well over here
Yeah.
and I found some people here, and it's all learning. And like you were talking with the hermit too, which I think is perfect, of like you're gonna keep healing, right? There's no perfection. There's
Yeah.
no like, oh, now I know enough. No, you're
Every
always gonna feel like
Yeah. Every
you're
step
not
up
perfect,
in,
but it's like
like, the entrepreneur journey is like, you're like, oh, you're like, oh God. And then you take it and then you're like, cool, I got this. And then you're like, I'm ready for the next step. And you're like, oh God, there's more shadow work here. And then you're like, okay, I got that. I'm ready for the next step. And then you're like, oh great, there's more it's never ending. The shadow work within entrepreneurship is never ending, and nothing's gonna make you face your demons bigger, harder, faster than doing it publicly in the public eye.
yeah. And now is a great year to do it. Like, Aquarius is coming in strong, collaboration, community. Like, there's so much support that can just line up for you. Intuitive downloads like crazy. Like, that's one of
Oh
my psychic
yeah.
gifts. Like, I just got all these
Yeah,
downloads. I'm
I
like,
I
okay,
had
where
an
do I
astrologer
focus?
be like, "Oh, all of your benefics are in the eighth. We need to move those. That's a hidden house. That's not good." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" I'm like, "I love my benefics in the eighth. It's why I can see the connections that I see and can make
Mhm.
these things." So even if we're talking astrology and we're talking the moon, even if it seems like a bad transit, it's like, what is this transit guiding you through, and it's here to
Yeah.
help you through, right? Even though it may be difficult and challenging, it's like, now get through the difficult time and then look back and see what you've learned from it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we have the Aquarius new moon, new beginnings. We have the Chinese Lunar New Year happening, which is the dragon, and it's what, an 8 numerology
Yeah.
new year. So it's like intuition, abundance, power, like magic. Like, now is your time,
I,
healers and intuitives.
yeah.
Like, that's
I
why
am
Heidi and I are creating spaces
yeah.
like this.
I'm
Now is
like
the time.
super excited. Like, because of my stellium, like Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, a lot of fortune, Sun, all in the eighth, all in Aquarius. But I'm super excited because we have the new moon, we have the new, and I call myself the Dragon Slayer. So I'm like, the year of the dragon. This is perfect, and then right, and then taken from Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. People get really upset about that in the spiritual space. They're like, "You're slaying dragons? Dragons are so high vibration." I'm like, "Have you not read? Do you not know the hero's journey?" Like it's from Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, which is essentially his idea of slaying dragons is shadow work because it's facing those dark places in yourself and saying, "What am I going to do here?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the year 8. So like I've been hearing everywhere 8 abundance. It's the strength card, which for me
Strength.
is
Oh my
yeah.
God. More Leo vibes. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we've got more Leo talk about Aquarius, Leo access. We've got the Leo vibes coming in with the strength card this year. It's also personally a year 8 for me. The strength is vulnerability. And for me, it's also surrender because I always think of that lion on the strength card as our kind of like our inner beasts, our inner dragons
I
and
was
spirit
just gonna say
feminine.
softness.
And
There's a
yeah,
softness to it, and like embracing that, accepting that as a strength.
yeah. And so it's going to be a beautiful freaking year with all of this energy coming in with the 8, with the Pluto, with Aquarius, with, and all of these themes are being highlighted. And by the way, guys, Kaitlyn mentioned it earlier. If you know where your Aquarius is or if you know your rising, drop it in the comments because we can come back and say, kind of give you an idea of where this transit is happening for you.
To help you focus, like, okay, where should I focus for my new beginnings, for you personally, because it is unique for each of us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so good. Yeah, and if you need support, like, get support. I think that's the thing that helped me the most, create the most shifts, work through my own darkness, whether it's, Heidi can do it in her unique way and help you access your like personal power, right? Or through me who does something very similar, but in my own unique way, right? Shine your light, get out there and get paid to be in service. Like, you got this, babe.
Yeah. And you know what? I love what I do. Like I wouldn't want to do anything else but be a tarot reader. That's why when I sat down and revamped my business and was like, now I gotta drop the Akashic records, it's like I love them, but like tarot's my heart and soul. Just like the moon is your heart and soul. Like what I can see when you talk about it, like how
Yeah.
your body language shifts, how excited you get, how your eyes light up. Like
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and it's a journey to find it. So keep going, babes. All right, let's see. I do want to touch on this too. My inner compass knows the way. Let's see. Our inner compass is our intuition. When we pause to listen, we expand into its wisdom. As we strengthen our relationship to its gentle yet directive voice inside, it becomes brighter and clearer. The presence of your intuition is centered, honest, loving, calm, supportive, and guided. Life feels more synchronized and happy when you awaken your inner guide. Its opposite is fear, which feels stuck, confused, anxious, overly controlling, disconnected, or heavy. We may be carrying fear from our childhood or even lifetimes ago. Yet in any moment, we can choose to ask for guidance. Experiment with this deeper listening and validate what you see, feel, hear, even if it doesn't appear logical at first. Engage with your inner compass daily and let it ripple into every aspect of your life. Well, that was a great synopsis.
yes, I love that. I love that. That was beautiful. Like engage with your inner compass and like just like we were talking about with shadow work, like ask yourself, go deep, go to those places, find your way there.
Mhm.
It's not as okay, maybe sometimes it's as scary as you think it is, but it's worth it.
But mostly it's worth it. You'll feel so much lighter
Mostly
and
it's
like
not
more
that
clarity
scary.
on the other side. Yeah.
You know what? I find like when I have to go to those deep places, it's like the anxiety going there is worse than actually going there, right? Like once you're there, like,
So
oh, it's not
so
so
much
bad. I
so.
totally built it up in my head.
So much so. Yeah, it can shift like so quickly just from like, okay, now I'm present with it. Yeah.
All right. Right. Is there anything else you wanna talk about today on your inner compass, on anything? Because that's what this is for.
I know, how exciting.
Right?
I think so. I mean, I
That's why
think
you
we
started this.
covered
Because
a
I'm like,
lot. Like, it was so amazing and so fun. I mean, I do have an opportunity for anyone who wants to go to Sedona and also wants to grow their business and shine their light and make money doing what they love. I'll pay you to do a 30-minute workshop in Sedona at the retreat while also mostly receiving and going to different excursions and vortexes and amazing things. And there's coaching beforehand to help you if you need create your offer or do some of the shadow work as well. So that's something I'm most excited about, which is happening
That's
in
such a beautiful
April
journey.
around Earth Day, this year. So you can drop Sedona in the comments if you're interested or
Yeah.
message me.
And like, let us know, where can everybody find you? I mean, we can come back in the comments and pop in, you know,
Thank you.
your group name or
Yeah.
anything, but like,
Yeah.
shamelessly plug yourself by all means.
Yeah, so Instagram, Psychic Moon Mentor. I have my Facebook community, Moon Manifesting Lunar Abundance. Mostly my personal profile on Facebook, as well as a business profile, which you can find Kaitlyn, Psychic Moon Mentor. So yeah, definitely connect. I'm always out here shouting for the sensitives and intuitives. Like, we're rising, babe, rising in with
Yeah,
our light.
it's time. It's our
Mhm.
it's our time.
Oh yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, I hope you enjoyed that and keep out. I mean, if you guys are interested, by all means, entrepreneur or not, I put a post up earlier in the group if you have something on your heart that you want to speak about, or just slippy slide right into my DMs and let me know, and we can set something up, because this is why I started this, is because I just want to have really great, powerful conversations with like amazing people like Kaitlyn, like yourself. Because that's really how we build community. That's how we establish our roots, and that's how we all are being able to rise and grow together. So with that, have a beautiful night, guys. I look forward to
Yeah.
doing this again. And don't forget to play. And thank
Yeah.
you,
Thank you
Caitlin,
so
for joining us.
much.
Good night.
Good night.